Welcome to the Costa Property Podcast, the podcast that turns your dreams of owning a piece of paradise on the Costa del Sol into reality. I'm Sandra Laurie, and I'm joined by my co-host and wife, Sandra Laurie.
Join us as we embark on navigating the ins and outs of real estate and relocation to this beautiful region.
We're not just about market trends, we're about sharing real-life experiences, because we know the struggle firsthand, and I've helped many people navigate this challenge also.
If you're dreaming of your perfect Costa del Sol home and want to get real, no-frills, expert advice, then you're absolutely in the right place. Join us each week as we share honest insights and information that will guide your journey. Buying property in Spain can be an exciting journey, but if you're not familiar with the local lingo, it can quickly turn from excitement into confusion. Terms like Nota Simple and NIE might sound foreign now, but they're crucial to understand if you want a smooth buying process. Getting to grips with the essential terms will save you time, money, and a lot of headaches. Now, in this episode, we're breaking down the most common terms you'll encounter when purchasing property in Spain so that you can feel confident and prepared every step of the way. So before we dive into today's episode, Warner, what's the Spanish word of the day?
The Spanish word of today is notario, and notario is a notary.
And Warner, why might this be important for you in your purchasing journey?
Because hopefully our fellow dreamers, when they buy a property in the sun, one day they'll be signing at the notary for their brand new property.
So this is a big milestone at the end of the buying process where you'll sign that signature, which will then declare that that property is yours. Let's jump into today's episode. So Warner, why is it essential for property buyers in Spain to be familiar with some of the lingo or the common terms that they may hear when they're purchasing a property abroad?
It's so important for them to understand the lingo so that they don't feel overwhelmed when they go to the lawyer, that they hear these phrases, that they understand what they are.
I guess it's likely that, if you are buying a property in Spain, Spanish isn't going to be a language that you're necessarily familiar with. So understanding some of the common phrases and terminology and some of the words that you may hear through a property purchase would be useful for you because they'll help you understand how your certain milestones go into track. So from my perspective, I can assume that it only benefits you to know some of the common lingo that will appear throughout your property search. What I like about you when you work with your clients is from the very first meetings that you have with your clients, you always ensure to start familiarizing them with some of that terminology early on so that naturally they start to feel more comfortable with it. So can we start then, Warner, with some of the legal and financial terms? I have a couple of questions that I think would be important for listeners to be aware of. Now, my first question to you is, what's an escritura and why is this important as part of the buying process?
An escritura is the title deed of the property. And when you go to notary and change it from one owner to another owner, you get a copy of the escritura, which is basically the sale of the property. You have all the information, what taxes that you paid for it, and all the certificates that you're buying the property free of charges.
Okay. So essentially for me, if I was proceeding to purchase the property and I had my notary date to sign for the property, at the end of that process, I would expect to have an escritura which declared me as the owner of the property. That would be my title deed.
At the notary, you actually get a short version. It's called a copia simple. And the copia simple is basically a short version of the escritura, which means that you bought the property on the day.
So then you've talked about a copia simple, but now I want you to explain to me what is a Nota Simple and what information can I expect that this provides?
Okay, the Nota Simple is really important in the buying process. The Nota Simple is a short version of the escritura, but it's in real time. So when you're interested in the property, the first thing that you should ask is, can I have a copy of the Nota Simple for my lawyer to review? Because on this, it gives you all the information about the property. It tells you if it has a mortgage and it tells you if there's any debts. Also, if you are going for finance to buy the property, then the mortgage company or the bank will ask for a Nota Simple no less than 3 months so that they have accurate information.
And I think just to bring this a little bit more to life, so what I have seen through observing the different processes in terms of working with you is that typically when a buyer identifies the property that they want to buy, they make an offer on that property, the offer is accepted, they pay a reservation fee to reserve the property and take it off market, and then the real estate agent, i.e. you, requests the Nota Simple from the seller of the property. That's then reviewed by you and the lawyer goes into great detail to do some due diligence on that Nota Simple to ensure that, as you say, it's free from debts and there's nothing sinister, I would say, that you as the new buyer of that property should be aware of. When the lawyer is comfortable what the Nota Simple entails, then they give you the green light to proceed to the next stage of your property purchase. So I think from a roadmap perspective, timeline perspective, the Nota Simple request and review happens pretty early on in your purchase, usually after you have identified the property that you want to buy and secured it with a reservation fee.
Absolutely correct.
So, Warner, what does the term EB mean and why is it important for property owners in Spain?
Okay, so when you buy a property in Spain, there's 2 types of taxes. There's the EB tax and there's the basura. The EB tax is like the council tax if you were coming from England. It's a tax that you pay to the town hall every year and it's normally divided into 3 instalments.
That's great to know. So how does an NIE fit into this property buying process? So NIE, Número de Identificación de Extranjero, how does this fit into the buying process?
The NIE number is very important when you're buying a property. It's a national identity number for Spain. You need this in order to buy a property and your lawyer will arrange this for you.
Yeah, and the NIE, I think what's important to note about the NIE, it's Número de Identificación de Extranjero. This is the number for foreigners, okay? So if you are a Spanish citizen or you come from Spain, you will have a number called a DNI. And this is basically just your national identification number. So a little bit like if you were living in Ireland, for example, you'd have a PPS number. This is the number that's used to identify you in Spain. As Warner correctly says, it's essential to have an NIE number before you can actually proceed to purchase your property. But you will also need an NIE number if you are planning on staying in Spain to work, etc. Your employer would request your NIE number. But you also need an NIE number if you want to be self-employed. So it's a great number to have and it will serve many, many purposes for you throughout your journey in Spain. So NIE number is a great word for you to know because you will need it at some point. Okay, Warner, talk us through then the key differences between an escritura and a Nota Simple. I know we've touched on them both separately, but if we line them up side by side, what are the key differences?
Okay, so the escritura goes into a bit more detail, you know, what you paid for the property, all the taxes that you paid, you know, all the certificates, everything about the property is in the escritura. So, you know, the Nota Simple is a shorter version which doesn't reveal that information. If you are selling a property, then your lawyer would ask for the full copy of the escritura so that they can review all the information on that.
Good to know. So basically similarities between both. One is shorter than the other and they come at different stages through the property process. What's a tasador and why might you need one?
Okay, so a tasador is a valuator, and when you're buying a property with finance, then the bank will send out the tasador to value the property. So this is, if you're buying a property with finance, you need a valuation, like in any country.
So like if you need a mortgage, once the bank has approved your mortgage, they then send a tasador out to evaluate your property as part of the mortgage and lending process, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Good to know, good to know. What should buyers know about Comunidad de Propietarios and community fees? So this, I guess, comes a little bit later on then. After you've purchased your property, you're going to be hearing about, you know, Comunidad de Propietarios, but also actually it's interesting for you as a buyer early in the process as well, because you're going to want to understand how much these community fees cost.
Yeah, so when you've actually purchased your property and if it's in a complex, you'll automatically enter into the Comunidad de Owners, which is the community of owners. And the community of owners look after the maintenance and the spend. So every month, everybody that owns the property will be paid the same fee. And normally around twice a year, they'll have a general meeting and everything will be documented in regards to where the money is getting spent. So it's a really good system.
Yeah, so the community of owners, they are really responsible for the community and shared areas of apartment buildings. So if you are buying an apartment, you will be paying community fees to ensure the maintenance of things like an elevator in your block or the entrance of your building or the pool area, for example, which is obviously important in Spain. So your community of owners, as Warner says, they will meet regularly, but they are responsible for ensuring the prioritization of how the fees are spent to make sure that the building is maintained in the best way. If you are buying a property, I think it's always worth to note that if you are buying an apartment in an apartment block, you will pay community fees. So the more facilities that your apartment block has, the higher that your community fees will be. So if you purchase in an apartment building without a swimming pool, you will have lower community fees compared to a property that will be in a block that has a swimming pool. So I think that's important to note as well in terms of your own priorities as part of your purchase. That is a fee that you will be obliged to pay monthly. The second thing I just want to note on that as well is if you do identify a property that you are purchasing, you're comfortable with the community fees each month, you understand what you're getting in your block for that fee, it's useful to request to see the minutes from the latest community meetings because that will keep you up to date in terms of what have been the previous discussion topics. Is there any bone of contentions within the communities that I should be aware of as a future owner? So that would be valuable for you to definitely request to review the minutes. And it's normal that you would request to do so as well. So what does the term primera línea mean, Warner, and how does this impact property value? So primera línea.
So primera línea means first line. Normally properties in primera línea are the properties that you want to buy because you have the best views, you have the best location, close to the beach, and for that you will pay an extra premium.
So would I be right in saying like primera línea, that's front line to the beach? It's those properties that are like there on the front line directly looking onto a beach view.
Exactly. So you have primera línea and segunda línea. So primera línea is basically prime real estate. This is where the best properties you'll get with the best views and also the best prices.
Amazing. What do the terms precio de mercado and precio de venta mean?
So precio de mercado is market price and the precio de venta is sale price. So when you list a property and you put it on the portals, that would be the market price. But if somebody is interested in that property and makes an offer and the offer is agreed, then this is the price, the precio de venta, that's the sale price that's been agreed by the buyer and the seller.
What strategies can buyers use to ensure that they fully understand the terms in their contracts then?
The strategy that they should use is not to go alone. Always make sure you use the experts. They are there to help you and make sure that buying your property in the Costa del Sol is a dream and not a nightmare.
Yeah, so, again, reinforcing that the market is unregulated. Okay, so there's no legislation at the moment stipulating the standards that real estate agents should operate to. So don't go at this alone. Find a good, reputable real estate and hire a lawyer, especially if you are not from Spain and it is your first time purchasing a property on the Costa del Sol or in Spain. Hire a lawyer to support you through that process because it will be new to you. I totally agree with you on that, Warner. Okay, so before we recap then, remind us again how listeners can access more resources or get in touch with you directly, Warner, or how do they reach you if they have any further questions?
Okay, so they can contact me on my socials, Instagram and Facebook, WL Costa Properties. They can also go to the website and they can also contact me from WhatsApp, send me an email, or the old way, just give me a telephone call.
And our website, www.wlcostaproperties.net, does have a resource section where you can access various different resources for free, like our buyer's guide or our ultimate checklist, which are resources that have been created to aid your search and to get you off to the best possible start. Thank you, Warner, for your insights. I'm really excited to share with our listeners that we have been developing for many, many months an online course that will support fellow dreamers to purchase their first holiday home, investment property, or permanent home on the Costa del Sol. This digital course is divided into multiple modules that will ensure that by the end of the course, you will be filled with confidence and be able to navigate your property search with ease. It's called The Ultimate Roadmap to Purchasing Your Property on the Costa del Sol. And by the end of the course, you will leave with a lot of comprehensive information that will aid your property search. The course itself will be launching the end of October, and we have created a waitlist for this. Anybody who registers on the waitlist will receive the course for a discounted price, and it's full of value. We're incredibly proud of this, and we've poured many, many years of experience and interactions with our clients into this course. And we just know it will be of immense value for anybody who is purchasing a home on the Costa del Sol. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening into today's episode on the Costa Property Podcast. Another fantastic episode learning about the highs and lows of relocating to the Costa del Sol from real people who have been through the journey themselves, and of course our wonderful experts. If you have been enjoying the show so far, remember to hit subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating or review.
We absolutely love hearing your thoughts. Please send any questions that you would like us to answer on the show to warner@wlcostaproperties.net. Or you can pop us a message on our socials, which are in the show notes. Remember, you can also visit the website, www.wlcostaproperties.net.
See you on the next episode, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.